Hey everybody, Stuart Anderson here. I got to get my microphone. It's over there. Welcome to the Crown Council Live. Grateful to have you with us. This is our weekly program where we connect with our Crown Council members and our resource partners, fun stories, mentors out there, and anyone that is connected to our community. So we're grateful that you would join us. This is the live portion, although some watch recorded, which we're also grateful for, and some even watch the little segments one at a time. So no real right or wrong way to do Crown Council Live. We're just grateful that you would tune in and be part of this great community. As Crown Council grows and gets bigger and new members join us, there's a phrase I always say, which is inside Crown Council, you never have to practice alone. And that is true. The people that join this community bring their best, they share their best, but you also take from others the things that they have learned and the incredible mentors in this group. So, what an awesome opportunity to share that with everybody, that you don't practice alone, whether it's a business that you need or advice from an older retiring dentist. We hope that you always feel connected to this community. And that was the reasoning behind Crown Council live stream so long ago was, besides annual event, what could we do to help you feel a community? And this is it, the live stream. So we're grateful to have you with us. We have two guests today. I know I just texted Taylor Lowe and she says she's in the waiting room. So we'll bring Taylor in and we might as well just start talking to her. I know she has a call at 11:30. So we'll talk to her and talk about Eagle U. And they actually just met for Eagle U for this year in July. So I wanted to bring Taylor on to get like a rundown of how it went, how Crown Council members connect with Eagle U, and especially just some awesome stories from the program this year. So, hey, Taylor.
Hey, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Good. You can hear me okay?
We can hear you very good. Taylor was texting me just recently about a wonderful trip she's going on. Congratulations. I can't wait for you to go to the beautiful British Isles. Wait, are you going anywhere else besides the British Isles?
We're doing London and then York and then up to Scotland.
Oh,
I
oh,
know.
it's going to be perfect. It's going to be
It's
so good.
consumed all of me. It's all I can think about. So,
I'm glad you can spare a few minutes for us. That's
yeah.
very good. Hey, so I was introducing Eagle U, but as you came in, I think it would be better if me and you were in a little elevator and I
Yep.
was like, "Oh, hey, how are you?" And you're like, "Oh, good. I run Eagle U." Will you give us the 2-minute explanation that you give when trying to describe Eagle U to someone?
Absolutely. And so, since this audience is the Crown Council, the easiest way I like to describe it to Crown Council members is that it is essentially Crown Council for your kids. So, for high school and college students between the ages of 15 to 25 years old, we take them for 5 days, about a week, on a college campus. And we give them this educational but fun experience where we teach them how to get a 7 year head start in their personal life and in their career. So we equip them with all of these leadership, business skills to get ahead in life.
I love that. What when a kid finishes and they say, "I did get a 7-year head start," how? Like what sort of things are you removing that normal people make, the mistakes that normal people make where they're like floundering through college, floundering through the first couple of years of career? How does it actually work where they're like, "Oh, I'm ahead."
Well, here's a prime example. So we teach our students how to get their dream job without standing in the job line and using a resume. We teach them the principle of networking and the 7 degrees, of Kevin Bacon, if you will, that people know of. You can network your way into your dream job instead of just standing in a line and sitting, having your resume sit in a pile along with 200 other resumes. And
Yeah.
we also teach them how to make a brag book, which is this binder, and there's an online version, which is just this enhanced, incredible version of a resume that nobody else is doing, so that these kids can get what nobody else is getting.
Nice. Taylor went to Eagle U. I remember this. The last time we had you on, which was over a year ago, Taylor told the incredible story of how she kind of manifested the job that you have, which is so cool. Will you talk about your personal experience with Eagle U?
Yeah, so I went when I was 15, hopped on a plane by myself, and it was the best week of my entire life. And it taught me how to set intentions and how to set my goals and how to actually achieve them. And one of the goals I had for myself was I wanted to run Eagle U. I was so obsessed and in love with the program, and I saw what it did that I wanted to continue doing it outside of being a student. So I put it on my vision board like I was taught to do and took all the steps of goal setting that Eagle U taught me to do. And I obviously achieved that goal. That's why I'm here.
I love it. Will you talk for a minute about just the organization, the structure of how it runs? I'm a
Yeah.
kid. I'm arriving. Who are they meeting? Who is running it? Like, who are you paying people to be there? Can you talk about the organization of Eagle
So
U?
everybody that's there are volunteers. They're there because they believe in the program and they truly want to invest and pour into these students. So our students fly or drive. If they fly, we pick them up at the airport. We have big neon green t-shirts on. So we grab them right away after baggage claim, put them on a private, beautiful shuttle bus, and we take them to this gorgeous, small, but beautiful college campus in Kansas City for the week. So your student sleeps in a dorm, they walk in when they do check in. It's a very exciting check-in process like it is at the Crown Council annual event. And then it is, we call it, there's a Steve word for it. It's called fungitainment. Maybe something like that, where it's fun
That sounds like
and
my Sunday school class. That's
yeah, or edutainment, where it's educational and
okay.
fun, something
Nice.
like that. So it's very high energy sessions. Your student's going to be in a gorgeous auditorium that we've really decorated up. And they'll be with team leaders and other students of their age. And they just have this experience that they're not going to get really anywhere else. And like, truly, I mean, I tried to find other things like us and I can't.
Yeah. Talk about just the experience they have with these mentors. It's a huge part of your planning, right? I know how much it must take
Yeah.
to will you talk about that experience? Because
Yeah.
I have a 16-year-old and she just entered her junior year and she's like, I don't know what I want to be. I don't know what I want to do for work. I don't know what I want to do. And I said, well, why don't I arrange all these adults and you can interview them, you can talk to them. And I'm connecting her in like little texts like, hey, Ava, here is Annie. She's a family therapist. Why don't you talk to her? And then I'm like babysitting her along to, you have a much better system. Will you talk about this system that you
Yes.
created? Yeah.
So after our students go through the entire Eagle U training throughout the week, we bring in about 60 to 70 mentors who come from various backgrounds, various different industries and jobs. And our students will have had their bios ahead of time. So our students get to do the research on these people and they decide who they want to sit down with. So we've got this big giant room with all of our mentors and all of our students. And the students get to go from table to table and interview the mentors on what made them successful. What is your job like? How do I do that? Would I be a good fit for this? So that they can skip this whole trial and error process that we keep seeing where people are getting out of college, getting a job thinking, oh crap, this is not what I thought it was. This is not what I want to do. They go back to school to get a different degree or a master's degree, and they just keep starting this process over. And we want to bypass that whole thing and say there's a better way, especially because when you're 18 years old and you're picking your college, degree, what you want to study and major in, you don't know really what you're doing. So we're really trying to help these students, skip that whole process.
So smart. You should add something to those mentors. They should bring a picture of their home and they can show the student where they live based on the job they have. Somebody would have shown me that in high school. I would have been like, oh, I see. I see what you do. Very good. Very good job.
I would actually rather see how much student debt did you get that degree and how much does it pay.
Like I was 48 when I paid off all my student debt. That's very good. Yeah. All right. I'm going to share my screen for just a minute. This is just Eagle U website. Very fun. A lot of fun videos here, especially about the things that we just talked about. So if you're watching this and want to understand a little bit more about the curriculum, what happens at Eagle U, some fun videos here. But I wanted you to talk about for just a minute how Crown Council members participate in sponsoring youth, or like tell me about the payment and sponsorship if the Crown Council members that are watching, can you talk about that?
So two things. Crown Council members are able to send their students directly. So if you have your own student or your niece or nephew or a neighbor or somebody, you're able to send them on your own. But I would actually like to tell a quick story about sponsorship. So one of the Crown Council dentists sponsored the student of one of his team members to come to Eagle U. His name was Austin.
Nice.
Austin came to Eagle U and it changed the trajectory of his life. And I don't take that lightly. I don't say that lightly. Austin, unfortunately, a few years ago passed away. And in his honor, his family was so touched by the sponsorship that he got for Eagle U that they wanted to pay that forward and they wanted to do good, as we talk about at Crown Council. So they set up the Austin Ponsart Scholarship Fund for students to continue getting a scholarship like they did from the Crown Council to continue to change the trajectory of other students' lives. And so when we say that these Crown Council dentists who sponsor kids to come to Eagle U, I mean, it is, I say that wholeheartedly because it really does change a kid's life for decades to come.
When you talk about a Crown Council doctor sending a Crown Council team member's child to Eagle U, can you talk about the costs associated with that? Like, what if a doctor's sitting there and they're like, oh, this would be an incredible thing for these couple teenagers in my office. Can you talk about how that works?
Yeah, so it's typically $1,600, but for Crown Council, our sponsorships or registration fees are $1,300. And so the doctors can reach out to me personally at my email address or on the website, which we'll give you guys later. And then the doctors get to pick the students that they want to sponsor. So maybe it's one of their patients who they've really built a close relationship with. A lot of our doctors do that. Maybe they just donate to the scholarship fund and they want us to find a student for them because we have a lot of students waiting on our list. Or maybe they want to sponsor their team member's kid or whoever. I mean, it's truly up to them. And we will then provide them a sponsorship packet that outlines, you can have an essay contest to select your student, or you can do a Instagram contest or whatever. But there's many different ways. I mean, really, the option is theirs on how they want to go about doing it. But they just reach out to me, I save the spot, and then we work together on that student selection process. And a lot of doctors, Dr. Gray is amazing. He sponsors like 5 students every year.
Nice.
And he allows us to select the students that need it the most, which is great. So there's plethora of options.
That is so awesome. And you've already got information up for next year. So July 14th through 18th at Baker University in Baldwin City, Kansas.
Yes, that's right.
Very cool. And then are people submitting their student applications now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So we already have a bunch of students registered. So you can just go there, register directly, fill out all the paperwork, and then your spot is saved. And you'll get the student welcome packet from me. That student portal at the top there, Stu, has all of the logistical information. So maybe you're like, well, how does the flight information work? Or what's the structure of the day? It's all there lined out for you so you can really dig through it and really figure out logistically what everything is like.
This guy right here,
Yes.
Brother White. What's his first name?
Ron
White. He was there when I went to Eagle U.
Oh, yeah.
He's like the United States memory champion, and he teaches skills on how to study and memorize. It like changed my college career. It really did.
He's amazing.
Well, even the idea that someone could be that smart about memorizing, I was like, oh, I need to step my game up here.
Yeah, I know, right? Yes.
Time. That was fun. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else I want to ask Taylor.
So we hold our program at Baker University, which is right outside of Kansas City, beautiful campus. And because we just talked about England, Margaret Thatcher's childhood church is on campus. They brought it over brick from brick.
What?
Isn't that wild?
Holy, that makes sense.
Who would have thought in the middle of nowhere, Kansas, that we get.
They're like, we don't have enough history here. We're gonna bring it from Europe.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So,
all right, I will with our little recording here make sure that the link is to Eagle U. But is a better way to connect with you? Is that the best way? I'm
very open. They can text me. My phone number is 303-525-8878. Or they can email me at taylor@eagleuniversity.org.
Okay, very good. Anything else?
That's it. I'm ready for Crown Council annual event this year. It'll be great.
We are not ready, so don't be too ready.
Hey,
I mean, we're getting there.
I get it. I understand that feeling.
We are close. We have a countdown clock, Taylor, in our office. That's like every day. It's like counting down.
That would stress me out.
I know every Monday I'm like, how did we get to 170 days? I'm like, oh my goodness. So
I need to book my hotel room. So thanks for reminding me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so actually, good point. The hotel is almost full, which is crazy. Yeah, do it right now. So book at the Omni because it will sell out, and then you have to get creative with your team to figure out where you're going to stay. So book your hotel. Do it.
But
All right.
nobody book it right away. Let me book mine
Oh
first.
yeah, Taylor, you go first. Very good.
Well,
All
thank you,
right.
Stu. I really appreciate you having me on.
Thank you. You're the best. Appreciate you.
Have a great day.
Okay, bye-bye. I went to Eagle U when I was 21. So I just started college, and it was an incredible experience to teach me how to interview people, how to create a resume, how to study better. Oh, I was not very good at that. So you actually walk away with this really fun 3-ring binder of all the skills and everything that they teach at Eagle U, which makes it, you sit there all day and listen and watch, but it's nice to go home with an actual physical thing that you take with you when you leave. So, Eagle U, it's awesome. And it's been going on for, man, 30 years. Steve and the team, Taylor, there are multiple Crown Council doctors who went to Eagle U, and now they have their own kids that they're sending to Eagle U, which is super fun to see. What a neat thing to be a part of. And I know Smiles for Life is a big part of Eagle U as well. So thanks to everybody in the Crown Council who donates to Eagle U and contributes. What an awesome way to do good in our community and around the country. So thanks to Eagle U. All right, I'm going to just open up Crown Council's website real quick. We have one more guest that we're going to bring in here in just 1 minute. His name is John Ratcliffe. But before we do that, I wanted to tell you something real quick and show you. As part of Crown Council, we have created a very interesting but effective way to communicate with the Crown Council team. Normally, when you go to a website and you see down here on the bottom right, talk to us, text us. You're texting like, I don't know who you're texting when you're on other businesses, but I will tell you right now, if you click that thing and you say, I want to text the Crown Council team, the entire Crown Council team, our phones bing with a real text message in real time whenever you chat with us on crowncouncil.com. So if you go to crowncouncil.com and you type in your last name, mobile number, and message, and then send it, all of our cell phones here at the office actually get a text, and it's kind of a race. Whoever on the Crown Council team can get to it first, we start messaging and returning your questions. And our goal is that if we're going to make ourselves available here, then we actually will be available, hopefully at almost at any time. I don't want to say any time, almost any time one of the Crown Council members on our team responds in the fastest and best way possible. Kind of a fun game that we have between each other. It actually even shows the stats of who responds fastest to the most Crown Council inquiries on crowncouncil.com. So if you need us for anything, this is a great way to communicate with the Crown Council team. And usually we'll say, hey, it's us. You're talking to Stuart, you're talking to Greg, Joey, Aaron, Rachel, Liesel. So it's really fun to communicate that way. All right, that's it. Let me just check, make sure I don't have any other messages. Very good. All right, let's see if DJ will bring in Dr. John Ratcliffe. John, as he's coming in, I'll introduce John. I want him to make sure that he hears me because actually I've never personally met John ever. So he and Steve, okay, he and Steve know each other very well, and I'll let him introduce that. Dr. Ratcliffe, can you hear me?
I can. Can you guys hear me?
We can. You're working today?
I am, but
But
that's what's awesome. You can block off your schedule.
you're so grateful you make yourself available. I mean, Steve suggested that you come on the show Tuesday, and I don't think I've ever met you personally. Have we? Have we ever met?
We met briefly at the annual event,
Okay.
like when I was a dental student, very briefly.
Where was that? Where were we? Were we in
That
Vegas?
one was in San Antonio.
San Antonio. Okay, dude, good memory, man. That was a long time
Well,
ago.
when you meet in Anderson,
Oh,
you remember.
whatever. So I know Steve really wanted to be here today, but just as an introduction, he is off at the ADOM meeting all week. He's teaching. He taught yesterday, and he'll teach today, and he'll teach tomorrow, all day at that meeting. So he actually just called me 10 minutes ago, and he goes, is everything set with John? Are you going to do a good job? Are you going to ask him the right questions? I'm like, man, Steve, yes, it's going to
And
go
of
great.
course, he's lecturing and still
It's,
worried about others,
uh,
which is exactly what
I
he
know,
does.
right? Anyway, so Dr. Ratliff, grateful to be with you. Will you just give a brief introduction to your dental journey, your story, kind of
Sure.
how you got into dentistry, and then where you're practicing now?
Great. Started as I think a 7 or 8 year old. I was in the summer, we would go hang out with my best friend in Texas, and on Fridays we'd go to the arcade or his grandparents' lake house. Come to find out, I was like, "What does his mom do? She's always reading books and taking us. She's a dentist."
Nice.
And I was like, "I want to be a dentist." And
Cool.
I've never not worked a Friday, so I haven't figured that part out yet. I basically I did the pre-dent thing. I went to Ole Miss, and then that's when I met Steve. I think I was a freshman or sophomore in college, and he was just like, "Hey, somebody introduced us," and he kind of helped me stay on that pre-dent journey. Went to A&M Baylor in Dallas, graduated in 19, did residency in Shreveport, Louisiana for oral surgery, and then now I'm in Charleston for the last 15 months. Um, and along that way, I loved kind of every aspect of dentistry, and I just feel like I liked surgery a little bit more. So I think I'm a little bit, I don't know if there's any oral surgeons listening, but I feel like I have such an appreciation for the restorative side, even the endo and all that. It was just awesome. I just like surgery just a little bit more. So it was a hard decision, but I'm happy I did it. And then joined Mike Porter in Charleston, South Carolina from I was going to join a group in Fort Worth, and then just kind of wanted to see what else was out there, and texted, of course, Steve. Hey, Steve, do you
Hmm.
know anybody hiring in the East Coast, specifically Charleston? And I think he had me an answer within like a couple hours through a mutual person. And then Mike and I hit it off, and it's been great for the last 15 months.
Very cool. When you look back at that, you know, as you exited dental school, as you you're learning, you're being educated, and then you're saying to yourself, what's next? What do I any advice you would give to John in 2019 doing it again? We have a lot of dental students who are kind of in that same position who are like, should I buy my own place? Should I be an associate? I mean, what would you do it the same, or any advice that you'd give to a young doc?
Yeah, I think part of it is still figuring it out. So I'm actually going on a retreat with Mike this weekend to figure out our next steps as far as partnership. And um, I think being patient, because being type A and being in dentistry, a lot of us we can get on this path of like, I want to do pre-dent, I want to get in, I want to, and that's just not the way life works sometimes. And so always thought I was going to Fort Worth, always thought I was joining the same practice. They're great guys. It just didn't feel like it was going to be the best fit. And so being adaptable, I would say, is one thing. Being okay with moving. Dentistry's a very great um, lifestyle and business to be in. And so if it's not Dallas, Texas, then maybe it's Greenville, Texas, and you still but even if you never thought you'd be in Greenville, there's so many dentists out there that go for that opportunity because it is such a great it's a great profession, but not every the timing is not always perfect for that specific area or that specific job. So being adaptable, being open to a new adventure and a change, which is out of the realm, like I said, of the type A planning personality, um, can open all sorts of doors. And then I'm a praying man. You just never know where the good Lord's going to take you.
Hmm.
Never in my world is dreams that I think I would be in Charleston, let alone with a great team, with a senior partner that I've learned a lot from. Like, younger me would have said, "Yeah, I don't that's not for me."
Hmm.
So just being open and being adaptable has allowed kind of things to shape. And Steve Anderson, coming back to that, um, networking. You've got to go meet people and um, I sent Steve a book, a guy named Mo Bunnell. He's all about like, well, what can you do for other people? Because Steve has always done things for me. Come to find out, Steve's working with the practice I joined, and so it
Mm,
comes full circle. We're actually able to, in a way, help Steve for
yeah.
once, even though he's always helped us. So,
Right.
um, being adaptable, being patient, being timely, being open to adventure, as well as meeting people and being interested in other people.
I love that. Yeah, we just had Taylor Lowe on from Eagle U, and a huge part of Eagle U is one thing that we talked about, which was finding mentors, finding the people that have done it before you, and just having the skills to ask them and be curious, and meeting those mentors that can kind of guide you along. So yeah, great advice. Awesome. Hey, so a really fun part of John's story that I wanted to share, and that Steve specifically asked that we share, is in Crown Council we work very hard to teach that the very best dental teams work on doing good. So I know that each practice does good just through dentistry alone as leaders in the community, but outside of that, the best practices that we work with inside their culture, they find a way to do good. They find a way to um, lead in the community as whether it's service or whether it's with a local charity. And a fun part of Dr. Ratliff's story is the foundation that he is a part of, and the story behind the foundation that he has called You Gotta Believe. Um, John, what's the best way to introduce this? I've got your website open. Do you want to talk about what do you want to do?
I don't even know, so You Gotta Believe is a camp. I'll do the best I can.
Okay. I'm gonna share my screen with the website. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
The 2002, my dad got diagnosed with 2001, really got diagnosed with cancer. I was 7, 8 years old. He always told us, "You got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe." I remember being a 6 year old, I think, on the Pee Wee baseball field, like holding up in my glove, number one, like looking at my finger saying, "You got to believe," because that was just what he instilled in us. You got to believe. And it wasn't really a faith thing. It was just, you got to believe. And we've kind of twisted it into a faith thing. But um, he passed away in '03, and then in 2007 I was going to be a freshman in high school. My brother was going to be a junior. He's like, "Hey, let's make a football camp called the You Gotta Believe football camp." So 2007 is actually when we started this. We ran it for 4 years, just started with like 28 kids, um, all day long, just at our middle school. Parents dropped them off with us, which is crazy. 28 kids, I think, was the first year. T-shirts and all that was just, oh man, I need to update that picture. But just like kids just trying to help kids, just trying to teach them football. And anyways, when I went to Ole Miss, my brother actually played football there. And so, or we walked on, we played very little. And the NCAA said, "You can't have a business." And we're like, "Well, it's really more like a youth camp." And like, "No, like money coming in and money coming out." Like, "Nope, can't do that." It's like, okay. So we stopped. 2015, though, fast forward, we were in Mississippi, very strong ties. All of our former teammates were either in NFL players or very good football players at Ole Miss. And we're like, "Hey, we're gonna have a camp. Do y'all want to be a part of it?" And they're like, "Yes." And so we started hosting these camps in Mississippi, and it just like exploded. The 28 kids in the horrible t-shirts turned into like good swag
And real
and
athletes.
and real athletes. Exactly. No offense taken, Stuart. But
Sorry.
no, so we had a good time. And it's just kind of grown. It's grown from like, hey, how can we make this bigger? So part of that was, I'm a biology major. The first thing you do when you open a business is you go Secretary of State and you open a business. That wasn't our mission. Our mission was a nonprofit. So we retro classed ourselves to become a 501c3 and all that, which has opened so many doors from the donor standpoint to get funding. So now our camp has transitioned from being about these athletes to being about the message of You Gotta Believe. And it's transitioned from every kid coming to camp to where we're like, who pay, it's like 75% is like inner city Jackson, inner city Fort Worth. So we just closed, this year would have been our 9th year in Jackson. We took a year off from camp. I think we had over 350 kids there. And then we opened a baseball camp in Fort Worth and a football camp. So we had 600 kids come through the organization.
Wow.
Problem is, it's only 2 days, which is a bummer. A lot of that's a staffing issue. And a lot of that's my brother and I have jobs and we're looking for growth within the organization, meaning we're looking to hire somebody to take more of a role to grow. It's just difficult finding the right fit to run something that's so dear to your heart and kind of letting go. And we've realized that so now the foundation basically supports those campers throughout the year. They reach out to us with, hey, my team is running a fundraiser, we need new cleats. So we're able to kind of stay in contact with them, as well as be a mentor, that we make them take our numbers if they need anything. It's been really cool to see the evolution of the You Gotta Believe message. All started from my dad from when we were 6 years old
Yeah.
to now, where it's like I wear a wristband and patients are like, "What's on your wristband?" It's like, "Oh, it's this camp," and some of them will donate to the nonprofit. It just, you just never know who you touch. So it's been really cool to be a part of.
I mean, do you track how many kids have been through this camp since the beginning? It's got to be thousands.
3,500.
Yeah.
Now some of that's probably repeat. And I'm not gonna go through all the 10 years and 15 years of Excel spreadsheets to sort them out. But yes, a lot of people have heard the message.
Yeah.
So,
What
and that's not just the kid, but that's the parent or whoever, the little brother.
when you I mean, I know as a dentist, uh in the dental profession you have, I mean, you do good all day. You're helping people, doing good. Your business does good for the people that work for you. But beyond that, so running, you got to believe. In what ways has that like affected you? Is it maybe your own family or the practice that
Mm.
you serve with? I guess I'm asking, is it worth it? And in what ways is it worth it?
It makes me emotional because you think, sometimes you think, I work on it from 8 p.m. to 10:30 during camp season, which is usually about April is when it really starts going through July. And you sit there and you work on it probably 4 out of the 7 nights, plus replying to emails during the day, which is why obviously we need help. And it's like, is all this worth it? Is all this work that we're doing, we're not getting paid for, is it worth it? And then you think about the kid who shows up without shoes, and then you're putting, Brooks sponsored us a couple years ago. We gave every kid who registered by a certain date a pair of tennis shoes and 2 shirts on their back. And then they get this experience where they're actually being coached and taught, and they take that and they take the message of You Gotta Believe. And it's totally worth it. But the day-to-day grind of it can get in your mind like, is this worth it? And then I know you're going to get to the next point of what we were up to this past weekend. And then it comes back and you're like, oh my gosh, you are making a difference.
Yeah.
So, but it's hard and you just got to keep going. And you also have to do some reflecting. Like, I realize that I am getting in the way of the as the co-director, we need help. And so you have to take a step back and say, like, am I helping or hurting? And because I can keep things going the way they're going, but there's opportunity for it to grow, and we just need some help there. So, um, all in all, it's a really good thing.
Good. The one thing John's talking about, which is the growth or the reason this has kind of been different over the last well, was it last week? I'm going to share my screen again. So I saw the preview to the movie, and it's like, this is no like dude, this is Luke Wilson. This is not like some so there's a movie that just came out, maybe not across all the United States, but a movie came out about the story, about John's story, about his story with his dad. I'm not going to play the whole trailer, but John, do you want to talk a bit about this journey, like what happened with this movie and how it's connected
Yeah,
to you? Yeah.
yeah. So, it came out in 790 theaters between
Dang.
US and Canada, which um, was cool to see. Because, like, when The movie, there's my character right there in the red hat,
Red
Peanut.
Hat.
Um,
I wondered which one
yeah,
was
that
you.
that
Nice.
one right there in the red hat. It's Peanut. That was my nickname growing up, and
Nice.
some people still call me that. But the producer um, produced a movie with Luke Wilson called 12 Mighty Orphans, and it was based in Fort Worth, and it was a really good film. But one of the investors say, "Hey, you guys produced the wrong story. Y'all need to produce this story of the 2002 Little League baseball team out of Fort Worth, Texas." Which my brother was the first baseman. Dedicated the season to my dad, Luke Wilson plays, um, and he was basically dying of melanoma throughout their season, and they faced elimination 11 times, and then basically, I don't want to ruin it, but make it to the Little League World Series. And so there's a lot of the whole title. They never say you got to believe in the movie, which is, I wish they would, but it is what it is. You can't edit it now. And but the whole point was behind the message of you got to believe, facing elimination 11 times, my dad battling cancer, knowing it was any day. And so they called my brother and said, "Hey, I heard you have a pretty cool story. Do you mind sharing with us?" And like 2.5 hours later, like the writer of the movie, his dad also passed away from melanoma. And they said, "We're gonna get this made." So that was 4 years ago. So this weekend was 4 years of it coming through, and it was just the most amazing weekend ever. Steve came to the movie on Saturday when we hosted a viewing, brought
Nice.
some of his kids, and so it's been a very emotional roller coaster. It's really hard to watch your childhood, through pictures, but let alone through somebody else telling a story. And I think they did a good job of it, but it's been amazing. But obviously with the movie coming out, the same name as the camp, it's a great message.
Yeah. I love it. And it's fun that from my perspective, so when we run the Smiles for Life Whitening charity here, um, the biggest key to success in the Smiles for Life program is the fact that Crown Council is a successful organization. Sometimes you're like, well, how do you run a charity? Well, I'll tell you how to run a charity is you have to run things on the side that are successful in order to make the charity work.
Right.
And when I look at you, you look at the way that I'm saying this because as hundreds of Crown Council members are watching right now, it's like, well, how do I do good in my community and at the same time run my own business? And I think you're a great example of that. It's not easy. It takes an incredible amount of work and passion and juggling to make all of it come together. But to do good is an incredible opportunity to find a way, whether it's in your community or with those thousands of kids that you work with. It's fun to hear you say that it is worth it. So nice work.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and in anything that's worth it, you have to make sacrifices. And so sometimes that's sacrifice with the kids. We've got two and one on the way, or with the wife. I try to limit that. So sometimes it's just sacrificing your sleep. And sleep is super important, but you got to get it done. And anything worth doing is worth doing well is also worth working hard for. So
Nice. John, Steve and I always ask the same question as we kind of wrap up, which is if you had a chance to talk to young John, and you can kind of pick whatever age you want to speak to him, but what have you learned, or what advice would you give to your own self in a little time machine if you could go back 5 or 10 years?
mm, I would say enjoy it along the way. We're always, especially in dentistry or any specialty or any AGD or anything, even in practice, you're always setting goals. And Steve makes you set goals, if you listen to Steve, and he makes you carry them around. Um,
Look at him.
but yeah, but you have to enjoy it because it's so negative self-talk is so prevalent. It's so easy to do and put yourself down. I mean, I've done it. Um, and then it's always, if you're only focused on the end, then the end, the movie, it took 4 years. If we only focused on this weekend and didn't enjoy all the script writing and didn't enjoy all the difficult conversations and difficult decisions we had to make, it wouldn't have been as enjoyable. It wouldn't have been, the end is just accumulation of little victories along the way that you need to celebrate. So
Great.
I would probably celebrate the little victories a little bit more.
That's great advice. It's tough to do along the way. Sometimes you don't realize you're like in the victories when they're happening.
That's right. You just feel like you're surviving, but really that survival is probably something you should be celebrating.
Yeah, I agree. John, thank you. You are awesome. Your story is inspiring, and this community is grateful for your example. And you're so young, dude. It's awesome that you're so young, doing so much. Most, young guys right out of school are worried more about themselves, but it's really fun to watch you live this law of giving to others and doing more for others in order to create what you have for yourself. So well done.
Well, thank you, Stuart, and thank you, Crown Council.
Okay, man. It's great to have you on. We'll see you around.
All right. Take
Okay.
care. Thank
See
you.
ya. He's got a charity, he's an oral surgeon, and they just made a movie. So he's doing good. He's what a great guy, what a great example. Super thankful for Dr. Ratliff for being on today and Taylor Lowe. So we're going to end the show a few minutes early, but grateful that you would join us today. I wanted to do one last final thing where I can talk about the annual event. We are deep in the heart of planning our annual event in Frisco. The hotel, like I said to Taylor, is filling up. This is our annual gathering of all Crown Council members, and we are so excited to plan and prepare for you. The meeting will sell out as the 30th annual event. It always happens where more and more people come to these events that are kind of the big events along the way. So now is a great time to register and be part of the planning and the preparation and to get your team involved. So we encourage you to go crowncouncil.com, click on the annual event link and sign up. We can't wait to be together. So, all right. Thanks for joining us today, Crown Council Live. And we look forward to next week, I believe it's September 12th. We have our good friends from Hero Loops that are going to be joining us. I've tried to get them on for a long time. They've got some incredible information about loops. I know it doesn't sound like it would be something that would be informational, but the story is incredible, as well as the technology behind Hero Loops. So we'll have them on next week, as well as Dr. Kelly Dove. We're excited to hear from her, Young Dentist of the Year a few years ago. And we're going to interview her all about her little career and what she's done over the last 10, 15 years. So, all right, that's it. Grateful to have you on today, and we'll see you next week.